Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Not Content Podcast. My name is Jerome Cuson, and we are going to be doing something a little bit different tonight. We are going to be bringing back Superhero Pantheon. This is the Superhero Pantheon 2025 annual, as we are going to be discussing four superhero movies, three of which were produced by Marvel and one produced by DC. There can be only one. There can be only one best movie. So as always, please leave a 4 or 5 star review on Apple and Spotify to get those algorithms going. Please subscribe to us on YouTube. Click the bell icon for notifications. And Brian, since we had this extra Tuesday here in the month of September, we decided that it would be a very nice gesture to talk about the superhero movies. And the main reason that we are doing this is I think there is worthwhile conversation to absolutely be had about three of these movies. One of them we will not spend very much time on, and Brian can probably already tell which one it is. I think the other three are well worth the conversation. I don't think that any of the four movies that we are going to be talking about are top tier. One of them might be bottom tier, but I don't know that any of these would be considered like Pantheon worthy. But I definitely think three out of these four movies are worth a little bit of our time.
And we're not ignoring shows completely. It's just the fact that we just kind of stopped watching the MCU shows pretty much. I know you stopped watching Ironheart, and I just didn't watch Ironheart at all.
I did not even touch Ironheart. If Disney can't be bothered to care, then why should I?
Yeah, and the whole Mephisto thing was building up to him being this big character, but being this TV character. I don't know.
I cannot believe that running gag started with WandaVision. Mephisto. You finally put Mephisto in a show, and it means literally nothing. And I mean,
I know.
Part of it is how fast culture moves. It feels like people have completely turned on the Mandalorian and Grogu as well. I remember just reading some of the reactions to the trailer. It's like, oh, so this is over. This movie is not going to do very well next year, is it?
I don't know. You know how grifters are on YouTube, right? They're trying to get their algorithms going.
It's not even necessarily the grifters. It just feels like that show had two really good seasons, and then the Book of Boba Fett kind of ruined everything. And I think people were kind of bored by season 3. That seems to be the general perception, and I don't necessarily disagree with that. It seems to me like you did 2.5 episodes in the season of another show that basically reneged on what you did at the end of season 2, and it didn't work.
Well, again, I think it's just I like season 3. There is a buzz because I can tell if there's that many millions of views on the trailer, there's got to be a buzz, right? I mean, it's not gonna not gross any money. I think people are gonna be like, oh yeah, let's go watch a Star Wars movie and not even think about.
I'm very curious to know what the budget for that. That to me is the big question.
Yeah, the budget, fine, but I just think people are going to forget that they criticized it in the first place because that's usually what happens. You know what I'm saying? People just forget, they criticize Sonic, and then all of a sudden Sonic has become the successful trilogy, right?
I mean, but the thing is, Sonic has a reasonable budget. Sonic movies are like $100 to $120 million, and they make 350 to 400 million, and they're able to turn a profit. I'm
talking more on the people, these people online that just need something to talk about in order to fill their YouTube time.
I mean, Sonic is also different because it's all about the kids, and I feel like those movies. I don't think there's lore pressure like there is on Star Wars, but we're getting off track. We need to shit on Captain America: Brave New World for just a few minutes. I don't want to spend very much time on this movie. I cannot believe that people were surprised by the fact that the writers of Captain Falcon and Winter Soldier made a bad movie. I think this might be my least favorite MCU project ever. I think this movie is bad. I think that the people who made this movie should feel bad. I think Anthony Mackie and Carl Lumbly and Giancarlo Esposito. I think these folks, and I will throw in Tim Blake Nelson. I think they were done really dirty in this movie.
Okay, so my perspective is whenever I go into an MCU movie, I kind of think, okay, there's a general audience perspective that I want to kind of get based on the reactions, and then the hardcore audience, right? So I guess a majority of the hardcore audience was just kind of like, well, we knew this movie was having a bad pre-production anyway for 2 years. Doesn't really come out well. We don't expect much out of it, and people didn't expect much out of it, and that's what happened. So when I was going in, I was kind of looking around, and again, I see a lot of the black audience like I saw in Black Panther, right? And I'm noticing it's like this Anthony Mackie thing. He's in the lead. Okay. So the black community is kind of coming out to support for this. And based on what I can tell, a lot of the older folk that came out to see this movie, and this was like the opening weekend I saw it was a packed theater. Really know what the hell was going on in terms of like the backstory. They just wanted to see Anthony Mackie. So I think there's like this different like perspective of like how a movie in the MCU should be drawing in terms of like, well, Anthony Mackie's not necessarily the original Captain America, so why should we expect to make Captain America money? Is what I'm saying, right? Why do we have these high expectations about these movies when it's not even like a precedent being set, right? It's not a Chris Evans movie that's Captain America, it's Anthony Mackie. So we can't have these same expectations. Oh, it's going to do all this money because it's Captain
I mean,
America.
it's a
No,
budget thing. I mean, a lot of it is budget. Like this movie had kind of an insane budget because of all the reshoots and stuff. So what ends up happening is that creates the expectations. There is a huge difference between Captain America: Brave New World at $90 million, but this movie was $180 million, and the expectations are just a lot different in terms of the budget. And look, the other issue is that this movie, because of the MCU franchise that it is a part of, Captain America I would generally regard as being the most highly thought of, because Captain America #1 I think is pretty fun. I think people saw Winter Soldier as kind of a mini comeback, and Civil War is like one of the most money making non Avengers movies ever made by Marvel, and it just feels like this movie did not meet the expectations, and I think there's a number of reasons for it. I think the fact that William Hurt wasn't able to return as Thaddeus Ross, I think that's a ding on this movie. And I get bringing in Harrison Ford as a name, but you're not getting that Harrison Ford anymore. You're not getting Han Solo or Indiana Jones. You're getting the 80-year-old version of him, and I just don't know that you were ever going to get something satisfactory from him in this movie. And it's really unfortunate because, like I said, I think Anthony Mackie got done dirty, and I don't necessarily blame him for why this movie ended up being such a creative mess. But I definitely will blame the people behind the scenes, and I think that Kevin Feige and Nate Moore, the reality is that Captain America and the Winter, or I'm sorry, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, like it was really obvious that movie or that TV show. God, I keep getting them confused. That TV show had a lot of problems creatively, and it just feels like they were not able to fix those problems. And I mean, to me, it just feels like this is a continuation of a lot of Disney's problems, and it feels like, I don't know, because there's obviously only 3 months between the release of Brave New World and Thunderbolts, but Thunderbolts almost feels like there's a course correction that's starting to happen. I think you see it a little bit in this movie, the fact that it's only 118 minutes, and all of the superhero movies that we are going to talk about today were either under 2 hours or just at 2 hours. So I think that there is clearly some sort of a mandate to keep these movies much shorter, which is a positive development.
that I definitely noticed this year for sure. I definitely noticed that with Fantastic Four. I was expecting a 2 hour and 15-minute movie, and it looks like they cut out the first 15 minutes, which we'll talk about that. But again, I know that's a pattern I noticed right off the bat, and I knew this was a studio thing, and that's how they get their money by increasing show times during the day. So that's their philosophy, and that's why they do it. So
I mean, there's that. I mean, to me, I think my problem with this movie is you advertise that Red Hulk is going to be in this movie. Like you pretty clearly you put that on the poster, you put it in the trailers, but then you don't actually, like, you keep the Red Hulk thing a secret for whatever reason until like 3/4 into the movie is when he first appears. And to me, like that is the cardinal sin of this movie. And like to me, you almost either don't show Cardinal or you don't show Red Hulk, or what you do is like from a creative standpoint, to me, like the interesting part of the movie would have actually been like Captain America knows that Thaddeus Ross can become Red Hulk. The audience knows, but nobody else knows. I think that would have solved some of the problems of this movie. I think it would have made Captain America, quite frankly, smarter. I think he's portrayed kind of as an idiot in this movie, which I think is another problem. But to me, I think if Sam Wilson knows, then you can kind of do some sort of a thriller, like where everybody's underground, and if Red Hulk becomes Red Hulk, then that could ruin everything because they're underground. I think there is an interesting story to be told there, They just weren't willing to tell it. And perhaps if you do that scenario, maybe you cut the budget down quite a bit as well.
We'll see, because I still kind of enjoyed this movie. I did like the connective elements because they did kind of connect the Dead Celestial for the first time in years. So they kind of like expanded on that and finally built on that
It's just, I mean, it's
timeline
almost bordering
wise.
on parody. It's bordering on parody at this point.
So we kind of got an answer for that, and they kind of go back to it. They don't actually acknowledge how it came to be, which I found kind of funny. I guess they don't know. I guess I don't know. It just kind of appeared out of nowhere, and they just kind of went with it. But that's how they're going to get their animanium, folks. That's the origin of animanium in this MCU. Because
I just
vibranium is it's a separate thing than vibranium in this universe. So that's where we're going in terms of the lore. But it was cool to see Liv Tyler. I wanted that moment so bad, like
I
four
mean, she
years
was
ago,
in the
5
movie
years
for
ago.
like 30 seconds, which, like, I would almost have rather not had her than with what she didn't do really in this movie. It felt kind of pointless. And
It's like the gratuitous Kevin Smith cameo in like Jay and Silent Bob reboot, right at the
I
convention.
mean, that's one way of thinking. I mean, to me, I don't understand why we were promised a Captain America movie and we basically got a Red Hulk movie. Just a lot of really weird choices were made, and I like to me this did not feel. And again, I understand that we're talking about Sam Wilson here, not talking about Steve Rogers, but to me, this never felt like a Captain America movie in terms of the feel. And that's the thing that's so unfortunate, because the thing that made the first and the second movie especially so great is that, it wasn't like that high impact MCU like CGI gobbledygook. Um, this movie, because of Red Hulk, like, you just get a ton of that, and you get some very clearly reshot scenes that, I mean, I think you just feel a lot of the weirdness in my view, and that's why this for me is probably the worst of the MCU projects that we've ever seen. I really believe that.
See, I don't know about that. To me, like bottom of the barrel type filmmaking is still bottom of the barrel type filmmaking, and this still had like a nice coat of paint over it. So I can't fault it for not. It still looks good.
I mean,
It's
I'm
very
saying in terms of
passable.
the movie, Secret Invasion is probably, and I haven't finished, so I can't say this officially, but I mean, it truly feels like that is the bottom of the barrel with the MCU.
For sure. And I think this had like a respectable quality to it. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like, half-assed. They did overspend on the budget, but that's because of the whole rewrite issue. And we're never going to see the footage of Seth Rollins as, I guess, Diamondback is what he was going to be,
I
or
mean,
whatever his name was.
it's depressing to me that this wasn't half-assed, that they actually tried and it ended up this bad. Like, that is actually worse. Like, if they had half-assed it, I could have actually written this off in some ways, but the fact that they didn't seem to do that is part of the problem.
I'll say this: the one scene I really did like was the third act aerial stuff. I thought that was really well done. Good tension with the whole like, who's going to strike first. I thought that was actually good. So next on the
All right.
list.
We have spent enough time on Captain America. Let's talk about Thunderbolts. I'm not referring it to it by its other name. We are going to call it Thunderbolts. And I do have to say, I think this was a perfectly cromulent, like, 7 out of 10 movie. I think it delivered on what it needed to. I think it had a very touching ending. I think that Florence Pugh is a giant movie star, extremely charismatic. I think she brings so much to this role. She has really good comedic chemistry with David Harbour. I think they were a great duo. Sebastian Stan is really solid in this movie. I have very mixed feelings about the way they used U.S. Agent. I think Wyatt Russell was much better in this movie than he was in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Olga Kurylenko, she got done dirty as well. Like, I get, like, they wanted to, like, kill her, but it was both obvious and shitty at the same time.
I mean, then they would have to add more dialogue for her, and what other dialogue could you possibly? We didn't need all those extra characters. I'm glad they just kind of trimmed it down, because then it would have been just too much. You know what I'm saying? Like, I like it when the Avengers start out with like 3 or 4 people, and then we grow to like 7 or 8. You know what I'm saying? Like, the NWO or something like that, when it was much smaller and simpler. So I appreciate that fact, because it would have been too much, and then we could focus on these other characters. You know what I'm saying? Um,
We had
it's
Lewis
weird
Pullman
because
as a Bob again as well. Can't forget that.
yes. Um, Okay, so this again, this expectation of like, oh my god, this movie flopped. Like, I mean, what do we have to compare? This is the first of a franchise, right? All these characters
Is
are
it
not primary characters; they're secondary
I mean,
characters from other
again,
franchises.
there's two problems. Again, we have a movie that has a listed budget of 180 million dollars. When you budget something at 90 million dollars, that makes things very different. It is a very different proposition, Brian, and I think that's part of the problem.
Well, I think there's this expectation that all these Marvel movies are supposed to do a billion. That's my big critique and issue. Is like, where are we
And
getting
the
this
other thing is
idea?
that this was the first big movie of the summer as well. I think that that was part of it. And I don't know that I think flop is probably the biggest. Flop is a misnomer. I would say disappointment at the box office because any Marvel movie that doesn't make at least, I would say, $500 million has to be considered a disappointment. I mean, the other issue is that Marvel is kind of over in China, and I think that is having a tremendous impact. And I think Marvel's going to have to adjust. I think they're going to really have to adjust these budgets because $180 million, it's not creating, it's not leading to a lot of success. And I think
Okay, let me just throw
that
this out there really quick. What I've noticed, especially at FX and TNT and all these local channels, they play a lot of these MCU movies, right? But not just the good ones. They still play Love and Thunder a lot. They play Eternals a lot. They play all the movies that we don't like a lot that we accuse of like being box office disappointments, but we don't know how much money they're actually making on the back end with all these distribution deals for all the streaming rights for
I
these
mean,
movies
maybe
on
they're
TV.
pulling it into profit somewhat, but you want to make your money based purely off box office.
I think we assume that based on the outsider's perspective. I think it's us being like, it's kind of like being a smart mark in wrestling, right? We think we know better than the booker sometimes, right? But I think in this case, maybe they do know what they're doing in terms of money because it seems like they don't care in terms of like,
I mean, you
oh,
say this, and we are talking about a movie that could potentially be coming out that costs $650 million next year with Avengers Doomsday. So I'm not sure. And again, we're going to see what that movie does. I mean, Disney's going through a lot of stuff right now. I mean, aside from Marvel, like there's a ton of controversy with Jimmy Kimmel, which I certainly do not want to get into. There's a lot of consternation about Disney in terms of the way that they raise prices at the parks, the fact that Disney Plus is having another price change. I think there's a lot of frustration with ESPN and that whole situation and the streaming, not just the WWE part, but just in general. So I mean, there's a lot going on at Disney, and I think it's really hard to say like what is having an effect, but clearly that people are being much choosier about what superhero movies that they are going to see. And look, this movie did extremely well in its first weekend, and then it dropped like a rock. And I think that to call it a flop would be I would not call this a flop. I would say box office disappointment probably because I think that a Marvel movie like this should do better, just based on what they've done previously and what they've been able to turn into franchises. But in terms of the creative, I think this is a very good movie, and I hope that people have discovered this on Disney Plus if they have not seen it in theaters, because again, I think this movie is very entertaining. It is a huge step up from Captain America. I would also argue that it is a huge step up from a lot of other Disney Plus fare, which is good. And I had a great time with this movie. And again, 127 minutes. It was just at about 2 hours. Perfect.
yeah, I really like the script. I mean, I think this script is very influenced by like a Reservoir Dogs, very Joss Whedon Avengers one ish when all the characters meet up. But of course, that's become a trope nowadays in terms of movies where like all the protagonists have to hate each other and disagree with each other before they get team up, right? So once you get that out of the way, I think it became more of like Friday or not Friday the 13th. Nightmare on Elm Street 3, The Dream Warriors, right? Especially that third act where they're entering each other's dreams and stuff. I love that because I can tell they used a lot of the same cinematic tricks they used in Nightmare on Elm Street 3, like when Heather Langenkamp goes through the chair and ends up in through the window or whatever it was, or the mirror. They use the exact same kind of tricks. I love that, and I was able to pick up on that. So I really dug the vibe of the third act, and I know we kind of criticize a lot of the third acts in Marvel, but I was kind of blown away by the writing of it, and how like it was more about character growth than like physical, overcoming a physical, um, some kind of like
I
bomb
would
or something
argue
like
this is
that.
one of the better third acts that Marvel has had in quite some time. And quite honestly, this might be the best third act of the four movies that we are talking about today.
Um, maybe so, but I will talk about Superman a little later. But there's a part of Superman that I just totally loved, and I can't remember if it's like the end of the second act, leading into the third. But in this case, yeah, this was once they went into the dream world or the dark world, I was like, oh my god, we're in
Really good
Nightmare
stuff.
on Elm Street 3, and me and Jerome love Nightmare on Elm Street 3. We're big fans of that movie, so I know Jerome was getting a kick at all the like little camera
No,
tricks
it's
they were
really
using.
cool. It was
Yeah,
really it was one of my favorite parts of this new crop of MCU movies. This was definitely like like I said, I'm at about a 7 out of 10, and I think this movie gets off to a rough start. Again, there are parts of this movie that work. The ending absolutely is. I think it's a home run, and I think if they had been able to somehow mimic, and I don't know how you do this, but capturing the feel of the third act in this movie, if they've been able to do it for the whole 2 hours, this probably would have been a top tier Marvel movie. I think this would have, and I'd be very curious to know if this was not just like a solid double, if this was a home run. I really wonder, like, would people have gone out to see it again or to see it in droves? Because again, I think that's part of the issue is I don't know people are doing repeat viewings as often with how expensive movie tickets are. It's just there's a lot going on.
I would also say that's a factor too because ticket prices have gone up with AMC. It's like in my area, like $20 to $30 for IMAX or Dolby. So you got to get the A list like we do to get that kind of like relief discount sort of for that multiple viewing. But again, that's another issue because like 10 years ago, multiple viewings of a Marvel movie wasn't that out of the realm of like possibility because of the money issue. So again, that's another issue in terms of what this movie grossed. I'm not that surprised because again, it's like these are all B characters from other movies. These are not like A-list characters, that Marvel relies on. It's just like a bunch of bad guys
Well,
that are coming
and part
together.
of the other issue is that so much of this is based off of Disney Plus as well, and I don't. There seems to almost be a stigma attached to a lot of the Disney Plus shows in terms of Marvel and Star Wars, and there's definitely been a lot of discussion about what Disney Plus has done to both. So I don't know. I mean, those are going to be ongoing conversations, and all I could say is I think this movie definitely it lifted my spirits after a very disappointing Captain America, and I think that this movie does just enough to give Marvel a little bit of momentum going into Avengers Doomsday. But the big movie of the summer in terms of Marvel, I would say, was Fantastic Four: Final Steps. And with hindsight being what it is, I wonder if Marvel would have opened this movie in October and switched it with Tron, given some more separation. Probably would have been good for both Superman and Fantastic Four. This movie has gotten over the $500 million mark, but with a $200 million budget, like who knows whether it was absolutely profitable. But this is definitely the best Fantastic Four movie that has ever been made. It cleared a very low bar. It blew it away actually, and I had a ton of fun with this. I think this movie was exactly what the studio needed in terms of making people care about the Fantastic Four again. I don't know. A part of me wishes that I think part of the problem with Avengers Doomsday being next year is it feels like Fantastic Four basically has to be introduced and then immediately thrown into this huge event. And I don't know if that's a good thing for this specific franchise because it feels like there is so much more that they could be doing before they join up with everybody else. But in terms of what they were able to do, I think visually, this is one of the strongest looking Marvel movies that they've done in quite some time, especially Thing and Galactus both looking phenomenal. I think they got the stretching right. I think they got Invisible Woman's powers right. Torch looks great. Silver Surfer looks great. The visuals absolutely nailed. Again, visually, this is one of the better Marvel movies that they've done in quite some time.
Yeah, I love the part where they were in space. I wish the whole movie was in space, to be honest. Like, I think That was the best looking part of the movie. That was the most exhilarating part of the movie. I love the part where, she has the baby Franklin Richards in space, next to a black hole. Very like, MCU style poetic. Like, Franklin Richards, was born next to a dying star. You know what I mean? Like, or a black hole or whatever. That kind of like philosophical, like, you have a future here in this MCU universe, which they play up because I guess he's going to be this main player coming up in the Avengers saga when he's a 4-year-old kid. So who knows what he's going to do, because apparently he's got a lot of great power in him because he rose his mom from the dead. Spoiler alert. Which was a cool scene as well because I don't know, something about the way she portrayed like this coming back from life. It seemed kind of scary, and they kind of played it off like a happy moment. But anytime someone comes back from the dead, you got to think Pet Cemetery, man, because like, you know what I'm saying? Like, she saw
I
something that
don't think they're going
most
to go
humans are
that
not supposed
dark.
to see.
I mean, I might be I might be wrong, but I don't.
Well,
I
for
don't.
what I'm reading is that the reason she's getting a lot of the main, or she's getting more like screen time in the next coming movie than the other Fantastic Four is because of that. So I don't know what they're gonna do with that, but it just feels
I
like
mean, who knows?
that's
There's so
something
much
to go
rumor and
with.
innuendo about this movie. I will not believe anything because I firmly believe that they're shooting fake stuff that isn't actually going to go into the movie. So until I actually see a final cut, I don't believe anything I see until then.
Okay, for sure. But I would love to explore that because I think that's a fascinating, thing with like sci-fi horror movies and genres that explore that. It's really fascinating because it's like, oh my God, I was at this place and all of a sudden I wasn't there anymore and I'm here. So, there's something there that they can easily use and kind of play with the whole Marvel cosmic thing as well. Um, but I just love the look of Galactus. I thought the scaling was a little off at first, but maybe it's just the way that it is. Like, Galactus is just really that
This
big.
is a movie that this movie wastes literally no time in getting into it. This movie it really makes me believe that
Hour and
they really want
45, hour and 45, and I was
hour.
shocked
It's
because
114 minutes. It's 114 minutes.
yeah, and I was kind of shocked that like it's almost the same like the 2002 one or no the 2004 one or whatever it was 2005. So I was
Yeah,
kind
I
of
mean, I
hesitant,
think it's
kind of
really
hesitant.
it's they're making some interesting choices, which I appreciate, and I'm just going to assume the Avengers movies are both going to be 3 hours, which we'll see how that all goes. I mean, we're going to see,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
so here's my hot take on this movie. This movie, this Fantastic Four, First Steps, this is what Incredibles 2 should have been. That's my hot take.
Oh, okay. I can see that. I like Incredibles 2 a lot though because of the
Write
design.
down. If you remember the Underminer, and then in this movie, you have Paul Walter Hauser. So I am a firm believer that Paul Walter Hauser as Mole Man, like this is what Incredibles 2 should have been, right down to the way that they used Underminer and the way they used Mole Man in this movie.
How he's in love with Sue, and they're not going to just say it outright, but he is in love with Sue, right? That's the whole thing. It's like
Right.
a
I don't
Snape
know that I'm
thing.
going to go that far with the Incredibles sequel, but I
Well,
mean
I'm just saying in
that
this case, it's
yeah.
clear that he's in love with Sue, and but that's the whole Snape trope from Harry Potter. But it feels like I want to see a director's cut that I'm never going to get, right? Because it feels like there's 15 minutes missing from the beginning because they just cut right into it. I kind of wanted more Reed Richards because I felt like his character growth was kind of like not much in this movie. It was like everyone else got character
I
growth.
feel like I wanted more Thing. It feels like Thing and
Oh, the thing is
Natasha
great. I think
Lyonne.
that's the best thing we've ever gotten.
I
Like,
mean, it is, but it feels like we didn't get enough of him and Rachel together.
I think you got to save that because I think, well, I don't know because I don't know if they're
For
going to go back to
what? I
that
mean, when are
universe.
we going to actually get a Fantastic Four sequel?
I get you,
Like,
I
this is
get
part
you,
of the
but maybe
problem.
maybe a one shot on Disney Plus and not make it a show,
I
but just like
really
a
wish
one
it.
shot.
That's what I wish. I wish Disney would do more one shots because I think that would
Well, I
solve
could
a
see a
lot of the
Christmas
problems.
special with the Thing and her, right? That's definitely a
I mean,
Christmas type
that
special.
is a great idea.
Hanukkah
Again, that's
special.
the kind of thing that they like. If they don't want to do these Disney Plus TV series, there is no excuse not to do the one shots. Like you're telling me, Guardians of the Galaxy that holiday special isn't one of the most viewed things that Disney Plus has done. I don't believe you. I mean, I think that more one shots are would be really helpful in terms of not forwarding the stories, but covering things that you might not otherwise cover. And you're not going to do a
Yeah, just
long
more
term storyline.
character work. I think what the one shot should be doing is just growing characters, right? I think that
I mean,
should be the goal.
I think this has been Marvel's biggest problem in these latter phases is they're not putting in the character. That's been the
Yeah,
problem.
they're introducing characters and not kind of like growing them. They're just
There's
kind of
no
throwing them out.
there is no payoff. I mean, think about the fact that we had Haley Steinfeld as Kate Bishop, and we haven't seen her in literal years, and I think that's a problem.
Oh yeah, I think she was in Miss Marvel, which still mixed reviews for me.
She
But that was
wasn't
a
in
couple
Miss
years ago.
Marvel. She was in the Hawkeye TV series.
No, but wasn't she in the end credits? Like we're putting a
She
team
might have been in
together.
the end credits in something.
Okay, that I think something like that. It
It's
all mixes
beyond
together,
pathetic.
right?
I mean,
But
and
in
this
this
this is the
case,
problem.
yeah, in this case, Fantastic Four. I give it a 7.5. I could have been higher, but I think I want that extra 15 minutes at the beginning because you can clearly tell, like based on the trailer as well, like they were setting up this big intro for the show, right? That Ed Sullivan type show, and they kind of just went over it, like just kind of brisked over it and ignored it, and just went. It's like, oh, we're at 2 hours. Let's cut it down. Let's get it down to an hour and 45, or
Yeah,
whatever, hour and 50.
I'm gonna solid 7 out of 10. I mean, I think that I'm not as high on it as you. I don't know. Like, I definitely need to rewatch this. I do want to rewatch this. When it comes to Disney Plus, I probably will. To watch, I will bear with it and watch Captain America, Thunderbolts in this just to kind of get a feel for it. But yeah, this is just a lot. Some weird choices it felt at times, but I think this movie is still very very good. It's just it feels like there's something missing that I cannot like put my finger on. It's really weird.
I'm telling you, it's those first 15 minutes because, again, it's like, remember we watched The Crow, and for us, it felt like we realized, oh, they didn't have time to film the Brandon Lee stuff for the first act, and they just went and cut through it. That's kind of what happened here, except they did have the footage, except they just, again, are just like, let's just speed things up. And it's Matt Shackman, as a reminder for everyone, who did
He did WandaVision.
WandaVision, which explains the whole aesthetic and how he can nail it, because he's good at nailing the aesthetic on like almost any decade at this point. It seems like
Yeah, I
60s,
mean
70s, 80s, 50s. So, credit to him. And I would like to see him do the one shots, not necessarily another Fantastic movie or Fantastic Four movie now because of what's going on with this Avengers thing. You need to figure out what's going on after that. But I think right now, one shot to kind of fill in some gaps would be perfect for him.
I would absolutely love to see that. All right, let's talk about Superman, the only DC movie that has come out this year, and James Gunn. This is kind of his first foray into DC after being associated with Marvel for so long. He is the captain of the ship, not just directing this movie, but running Marvel Studios on the creative end. Has heavily influenced Peacemaker with writing episodes as well as Creature Commandos. And I do have to say, and I know we're going to start in a very unusual place, but I just want to say I was so happy that Edie Gathegi got some redemption. He got done real dirty in X-Men First Class, and to see him in this movie, and for him to not only be portrayed as a total badass, but to have so much personality, to be allowed to be absolutely hilarious in his role. He specifically is the person that I was most happy for. And it was just so great to see Mr. Terrific be a huge part of this movie for that reason.
I mean, I have mixed feelings. I greatly loved his role in the movie, but I kept thinking like Ray Fisher is getting screwed, right? Don't you feel that way a little bit? Because of
I
like
mean,
that cyborg, that's supposed to be what I mean, I know they took out cyborg obviously because they don't want you to think of the previous incarnations, and that's why they switched up with
I
the lineup.
I can compartmentalize. I think what happened. I mean, look, I think that what Joss Whedon did to Ray Fisher was total garbage. And if for no other reason, I'm glad the Snyder cut exists because we did get to see like his character more fully formed. But I mean, we're past that. Like this is a new regime. We are moving forward with something else, and I think we're quite frankly moving forward with something that is much better. I think this version of Superman is significantly better, and I don't know that the box office necessarily reflects that, but I think a lot of the issue is the box office in general just is not as hyped up about superhero movies, and with all the damage that has been done to Superman over the years, and I'm not just talking about Snyder, I'm talking about Superman Returns, Superman's 3 and 4. Like realistically, the last time we had a good Superman movie was Superman 2, and even that's debatable. So the fact that this movie was still able to get $615 million and is probably going to do really well on HBO Max, I mean, that makes me very very happy because I this is my favorite superhero movie of the year, and it's pretty much by a wide margin. I think I like Thunderbolts. I like Fantastic Four. This is the movie that I want to rewatch the most.
I'll say Thunderbolts is my pick for the out of the four. I still like this movie a lot though, and I'm a big fan of Man of Steel, and I'm not like shitting on this because I'm like one of those Zack Snyder bros or whatever. Like I like both, right? Some parts I like a little more in Man of Steel, and some parts I like a little more in this one. So you can have that balance. It's fine. For me, I didn't have as much of an emotional connection for some reason as I did to Man of Steel. I wasn't having such an emotional, kind of connection with like Mom and Pop Kent. I thought the casting of Mama Kent was a little off, and I don't know, just a little, I don't know, too simple, I guess. I don't know, because this movie is definitely anti-star-studded casting, right? It's going against the grain in terms of what the Snyder films did
I
in
kind of
terms of getting new
appreciate it.
names.
Honestly, I think that the way that Ma and Pa, I think it kind of works for this movie. I don't know that it would have worked for something like even the original Superman, but I mean, I get what they were going for. Like they wanted to put the emphasis on the stars being Superman, Lois, and Luthor, and it's reflected in their salaries because their salaries were not very high for this movie. And I think the focus was put in the right place. I think the scene that David Cornsweet and Rachel Brosnahan have early in the movie, that is one of the best superhero scenes that I've ever seen. That 12 minutes with her interviewing him, that is some of the best stuff. And I think in a lot of ways it is meant to mirror the first one with them having their with Superman and Lois having their conversation on the ledge, but this was echoing that, but also had a very different feel because it was more confrontational. Lois has a lot more agency. I mean, that scene alone immediately hooked me into this movie.
I like that scene a lot too. It reminded me of the original Superman. I thought it just went a little too long because I can tell like some of the audience members around me were getting a little antsy. Like, come on,
I
let's
don't
just
know,
go.
man. I could have watched that for 25
Well,
minutes.
we're different kind of cats. We're the kind of cats that like certain kind of things, and we're cinephiles. So, but a general audience, maybe you could have cut out a minute or two because a little impatientness I can sense. But after that, it was like a really fun ride, and I really loved it when they went to the interdimensional stuff. I fucking love that kind of shit. And when they showed the different colors and the different universe stuff and the the rage monkey, so to speak, which I thought was hilarious because it just made me think of actual online chatter in terms of social media, which is true. But
It's
yeah,
good
just the
stuff.
stuff. Yeah, the Luther
You
stuff
could
was
tell that
good.
James Gunn was getting he was getting some of that frustration out. Like he couldn't really do it in Guardians 3. He definitely got some of that out of his system in this movie.
For sure. And for me, I'm kind of burned out on Lex character, so I was just kind of like, oh, we're doing Lex again. I really wanted Brainiac. I really wanted Brainiac, but we got Lex again, which is fine. It just kind of feels like more of the same because we've seen so many versions of Lex in TV and the
I mean,
movies.
it's too easy to do because of Elon. I mean, that's why you do it. I
I get
do
it.
agree with you. I think Nicholas Holt. Here's what I'll say. I think if Nicholas Holt wasn't as good as he was, I would probably be even more negative on using Lex. But he's really good in this movie.
And I do want that older Lex. I'm not a fan of the younger Lex Luthor. I want that older looking, like mid, 40s kind of looking. You know what I'm saying? But I guess they're gonna build to
I
that
mean, this is
because like
based on All Star Superman, so I think that they're closer in age.
yeah, and I think they're gonna do a lot of the stuff that I remember from like the cartoon movies from like 10 years ago or so. I do remember the team up, and I can't remember if that was I read that in the comics or because I've read a lot of Superman comics as well. They all kind of blend together, but I do like this team up they're doing for the next movie, which makes sense as to why they make Luthor the villain in this one. I totally understand that. But if it's against Brainiac, I think that's gonna be worth it because I've been wanting to see Brainiac for so long in a movie for Superman, and just the way that you can pull it off. Um, and we'll see, because I don't know if he left clues in this movie that we don't know of, because James Gunn has done that kind of thing before in the Guardians movies. So, you know, a lot of people are going to be going through this movie looking for all the Easter eggs and stuff like they did with Guardians 1. So we'll see. Maybe there's clues to Brainiac's appearance coming soon, hopefully. But that's what I'm kind of aiming for. The Mr. Terrific stuff I thought was great, like I already mentioned. Just kind of felt bad because I know that, I mean, you know, that would have been Cyborg in a different universe, and that would have been a great moment for him as a character and as an actor for Ray Fisher. But as we move on, I do like the Hot Girl stuff, and it makes me think that they might do the storyline from the Justice League cartoon. Spoiler alert, at the end of season 2, I believe, Hot Girl is revealed to be a spy for Thanagar, and that it's a Thanagarian invasion that's coming, and then all the Hawk people are coming to invade Earth, and that's the big twist. And I don't know if James Gunn has that up his sleeve, but I think that would be a good way to do a team-up movie, because I think using that character, Hot Girl, as like this way of like betraying the audience's faith, you know, like, 'cause we all like Hot Girl from the movie, right? She did a great job. She killed that European leader. But once she killed that European leader, that made me think that, oh shit, are they gonna do the whole like spy thing where she's gonna lead the invasion? Because that was a really questionable call for her to do, right? Like, everyone expects like people of the Justice Society to like not kill foreign leaders at
I
will,
mean,
and
she
she
is
did.
kind of a dick. I mean, I think that's the whole gimmick with he and Lantern is like they're dicks.
I mean, I guess, but in the show, like, I don't know, like it was very like they did it subtly, where like you had no idea she was gonna turn. But in this case, it's like, oh shit, she did something totally illegal, it seems like, and got away with it. And if Superman did that, oh, it would have been such a crime. But the fact that Hawkgirl did it, she gets away with it. So there's something there. I think it's leading to that, but I could be wrong. But this idea that Hawkgirl is kind of like untrustworthy, I like that direction. And I like the fact that, like, you know, we got I forget, I don't know the history of the Green Lanterns, but we got like the funny one, I guess, right? The funny one that takes things too seriously in the bowl cut.
We
So they
got
had
Guy
fun with
Gardner.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah, and so I guess that's leading to, I guess, like a Green Lantern movie coming
we
out in the
have a
next couple
guy. We
years.
have a Green Lantern TV series coming out next. I believe it's next year.
Oh, good. So if he's in it, then I'm cool with it, because then it ties everything together, right?
He
And we
was
get the
in the first
background.
episode of Peacemaker as well, so he is
Oh,
definitely
okay,
connected.
good, because I mean
Apparently,
yeah.
we are recording this. I have not watched episode 6, but apparently, episodes 6 through 8 of Peacemaker are going to have huge effects on the DCU, the new DCU moving forward.
Okay, so I'm not watching Peacemaker. I can't do it with John Cena. I tried with the first season, man, and after 3 episodes, I was done. But just
Boy,
spoil it
were
for
you
me, man.
wrong.
Spoil it for me, man. Are we at the point where like Peacemaker creates the DCU? Is that what we're getting to?
I don't know that we are, but they are doing interdimensional stuff is happening, and like I said, I have not watched episode 6. I'm probably, as soon as we get done recording, I'm probably going to go watch that. But we will see. It's a possibility. There's definitely going to be some weird stuff going on
Okay.
because
And what about
Joe
this
Pivot may
this
be
thing
back.
going around that John Cena's become the new best wrestler actor, right? What happened to Batista's like glory?
It's still Batista. I mean,
Okay.
I like John Cena well enough, but Batista is doing way. The problem is Batista's done like a couple of shocking movies this year. I think that's why people are probably saying that. John Cena is definitely better than you expect, but I mean Batista still, I would say.
Okay,
And
and we'll see what Dwayne Johnson does, because he might not steal away or steal a Oscar nomination. He just might be a default
it is
Oscar
going to be
nomination.
very, very interesting because the perception of that movie is that it is literally his performance and everything else is kind of blah. So we'll see.
Yeah,
Can
we will see on
can
that.
his can he carry that movie into being something
And it's a
important?
Safdie movie, meaning there's going to be a lot of what, screaming.
Perhaps. I mean, we're getting two set because they split up, and we're getting two of their movies this year.
Oh, that's
One is
right. They did the
that,
Coen
and
brothers.
the
They did the
other,
Coens.
Brian, they gave Benny $75 million to make a Timothy Chalamet ping pong movie.
I've been there, done that. It's called Balls of Fury, and it had Christopher Walken. There you go.
Listen, I don't know that movie's going to be good, but I am very intrigued by them giving $75 million for this. I think it's going to bomb really badly, but I'm for it. I want to see it.
So which Safety was in Happy Gilmore 2 by chance?
Let me see which one. And we're going to be starting to wrap things up here in just a moment. But we have to mention, Brian, we recorded, it's Benny, by the way. So just after we recorded Once Upon a Time in the West, that episode, Claudia Cardinale died. She died September the 23rd. And it's kind of depressing that we keep recording podcasts and the people we talk about keep dying. And I guess you can unfortunately put another one on the list. But I mean, she's amazing in that movie, and I just wanted I did not I would have felt terrible if we had not mentioned it because we didn't mention it on the episode because of when we recorded it, but just an awful loss because she was not only in Once Upon a Time in the West, but she is kind of a very notable performer. A lot of people were bringing up memories and bringing up some of the work that she had done.
I've never seen 8.5. I thought it was a little too pretentious for me. I've seen clips in college, but knowing that she's the star in that movie now, I never knew that until like she died. I think I might have to watch it now because she's got a great screen presence, that's for sure. I mean, she was beautiful. She had those stunning eyes, and we talked about how she can emote emotions and tell stories with her face, just like all the other Sergio Leone characters. But she does it so well in Once Upon a Time in the West, and how she's kind of the centerpiece of that movie, and how she has to be the strong-willed woman in the face of like death and like all these different like horrific things happening around her. And she's kind of like carrying that movie a little bit halfway through it. It's pretty much her, and we don't see Henry Fonda until like half hour after she comes in. So
Yep.
she's very important to that movie, and it's just unfortunate with the timing, man. It sucks. I know with our timing, we make jokes about it, but I've seen this on like other podcasts too, where they'll review a movie. Coincidentally, that someone from the movie dies. It's not just us, but it's just if you look at the ages and the timing of some of these movies, some of these actors are in their 70s and 80s and
Yep.
90s, and it's like things are starting
Yep.
to come together, and the writing's on the wall for some
I
things.
mean,
So
we have lost Robert Redford and Gene Hackman in the same year, which is kind of amazing. And it's we did not really talk about Robert Redford last week, but I just wanted to mention his passing. And there is a World War II movie that I never knew about called A Bridge Too Far. You probably know about it because it was directed by Richard Attenborough. Um, but given that Robert Redford is in it and Gene Hackman, I feel like I'm going to be watching that very soon.
I can just imagine Robert Redford as Red Hulk and saving that movie for you. You know what I'm saying?
I
Like,
mean,
it didn't have to be the president. It didn't have to be, you know,
no, but I mean,
Thunderbolt Ross.
I don't want to see Robert Redford as the Hulk. That just feels wrong.
I'm just saying, you never know. It could have been one of his
I
last
mean,
hurrahs. I mean,
he was really
he is
good in
so good
Captain America.
in Civil War. Like I just saw it
You
on
mean
TV
Winter
early before
Soldier?
the
Winter
Winter
Soldier.
Soldier, and he was on TV before we recorded, and I was just like, man, he's carrying this movie with class for sure, and he had just brought so much class to that movie. It's like ridiculous because it felt like we got this legend here, and he's like elevating our movie, and I bet that's what the Russo brothers felt like that the whole time working with him, that their movie got elevated just because of his presence. So it's unfortunate. We're knocking on wood here with some of the movies we're going to review coming up.
Yes, we
Um,
are.
oh
Let's get
boy.
into it. The month of
Well,
October, Brian. Last year, you sacrificed your love of Halloween for the sake of baseball. You are not doing that this year.
things are a little different. The Dodgers won the World Series last year, so I figured, let's get back to horror. I was watching a bunch of horror movies last year on my own, doing my own little thing, watching like Hammer horror stuff, a lot of British horror actually. So this case, this year, let's do it for the program, right? I got some stuff lined up, and I had to think of like, okay, how are we going to do the right match? What should we do? We've talked about Freddy versus Jason before on like underrated sequels month possibly, but it fits now because I think in comparison, Freddy versus Jason is pretty much like Stan Hansen versus Big Van Vader. And if you look at the comparisons which we come up with when we'll talk about it next week, man, the eye thing, Jason in the eye thing, Vader in the eye thing, like Freddy Krueger being old, an old vet, or Freddy Krueger's like the old veteran and Stan Hansen's the old veteran. You know what I'm saying? But again, knock on wood because because Robert Englund is in his late 70s, folks. So I'm kind of worried about that. But let's not jinx that, folks. And then the next week, we're going to talk some Hammer horror. I've been mentioning it before. I love Hammer horror to death. We're going to do a double feature. It's going to be The Mummy with Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing, followed by Dr. Jekyll and Miss Hyde, which I think is going to be a very surprising movie for Jerome because I think he's going to love it a lot. When I watched it last year, I was thinking, man, this is the kind of movie that Jerome would love as an A24 modern day movie, and I can't wait to see his reaction to it. So it's going to be a Hammer horror double feature in week 2. Week 3 is going to be interesting because me and Jerome both have seen The Blob from like 1950 something or whatever with Steve McQueen. We both like it. It's not the greatest sci-fi horror movie, but I think this remake is one of the best remakes of all time in terms of like remaking a horror movie or in even any genre. And they just elevate things to another level. It's like taking that notch meter from like a 9 to a 10. So I just can't wait for Jerome to experience this because it's
So
80s horror. It's
it's the
classic.
1988 one, right?
Correct. And it's got Matt Dillon as a starring role, and it's not what you expect. Imagine the movie from 19 or imagine the Steve McQueen version just flipped on its ear, and it's just so much fun and crazy and gory and horrific that when I watched it last year, I was shocked at how good it was and how high in the scale I put it on. We'll talk about that. And then in the fourth week, since the beginning of November is The Running Man coming out, the remake, directed by Edgar Wright, I figure it's the right time to review Shaun of the Dead. So we're going to review Shaun of the Dead at the end of the month. Comedy horror. I mean, me and Jerome both love that movie. We both love the Cornetto trilogy. And we both love Running Man. So it's going to be this nice, interesting conversation that transition into the beginning of November. Maybe you get a bonus review of The Running Man. I don't know. But we're both really looking forward to it. And it kind of transitions well into November. And November is going to be Woovember. And we'll talk about that next month.
Yes. So you've got a lot to look forward to. Christmas is all. I guess Christmas has become my holiday, so we'll get into some Christmas stuff as well. But yes, next month it's all about the terrorizing. For Brian, I'm Jerome. Thank you so much for listening. We will talk to you again next week.